Hey everyone, Aaron Ritter here, Limitless Outdoors. This will be my last video session here in the Pacific Northwest at my mom and dad's house, aka my old people, here in Washougal, Washington, at the mouth of the Columbia River. My last adventure that I've had here was yesterday salmon fishing on the Columbia River. As I was wrapping up my elk hunt, I reached out to a friend of mine, Amy McNeely, to see if she could find an empty seat in a boat on a fishing trip yesterday. So Amy McNeely is a friend of mine from high school. She's a Navy vet, very influential in moving females into combatant ships on USS Greyholes in the early 90s, and transitioned into a wife and a mother, and over the last few years has become a very active voice for females in the outdoors as a self-taught huntress and outdoors woman. Amy's really active with a group called the Fallen Outdoors. She's the secretary for the Washington chapter. And if you're not familiar with the Fallen Outdoors and you're a veteran, I highly recommend that you check them out. They're a nonprofit organization that is focused on putting veterans on hunting and fishing trips at limited to no cost to the individual. And Amy was able to put me in a boat with a boat captain by the name of Mike Amodeo. Now, Mike isn't a licensed guide. He's an Air Force vet who has a beautiful North River, and I've fished the Northwest my entire life, and I've got to say, Mike, that was the most beautiful boat that I've ever fished out of. It was an honor and a pleasure to spend a day with you and your boat on the river. Mike Amodeo, he was born or raised over in Portland, Oregon. He moved over to Washougal and actually lived maybe a block and a half from my mom and dad from this actual location. And he has announced the football games for the Washougal High School Panthers for the last 17 years, which also happens to be my alma mater. But he graciously told Amy that he would take the boat out, and originally it was just going to be the two of us. Mike was literally going to haul his boat down to the Port of Camas Washougal Marina, and he was going to take me fishing just because Amy had said I was in town and I wanted to try to catch salmon. But thankfully he threw 3 other guys in the boat, and we had a wonderful morning into the afternoon, trolling spinners and plugs, trying to catch a Chinook. And Mike was the only guy in the boat that had a takedown, hooked, and landed a fish. But I also had the honor of netting his fish. Now, if you've ever fished for salmon or steelhead, especially if you fish from a boat, you know there's something to be said about a good net man in the boat. And when I moved to the back of the boat and picked up his net and started prepping the net to bring his fish on board, you could see the look in his eye when he looked at me. He didn't know me from Adam. He had met me that morning. And he looked me in the eye. He was bringing that fish up to the side of the boat, and he asked me, "Do you know how to net fish?" So needless to say, I didn't knock his fish off. We brought that beautiful bright salmon into the boat, had some pictures and a good photo op, and I gotta say, Mike is a great guy to fish with. He knows what he's doing. He's more than willing to talk to you about what he's doing and why he's doing. And if you're a Northwest guy and you're a veteran and you want to fish and learn how to fish, hit up the Fallen Outdoors and see if you can get a seat in Mike Amadeo's North River boat. It's a beautiful boat. So that brings my trip to an end here in the Northwest. I've had a great time hanging out with family for a couple of days. We've had some great food, some good laughs. My dad, who is an avid outdoorsman, unfortunately had a shoulder replacement recently, so he hasn't been able to partake on any of the ventures, but he has been an all-star in helping me Euro out this 5-point that I brought out of the woods on Thursday. And you can watch my videos on the 5x5 recovery operation if you want to learn more about that. But it's been a really good time hanging out with my parents and doing some Northwest boy activities over the last couple of weeks. So that's going to be my wrap up for here. Stay tuned, because the adventures aren't over for this season. I'm headed back to my duty station in Southern Maryland, and the first week of October, I'm going to be hunting out of a Latitude Outdoor Method saddle on the eastern shore of Maryland for the elusive Sitka elk. And right now they're in the rut. So I'm going to be climbing a tree, hanging out in my Method saddle in the marshes of the eastern shore of Maryland, whistling and chirping and maybe doing a little more bugling for the Sitka elk, and see what I can do, see what I can put together. So there's more to follow. When I fly in next week and I get things prepped, I'll be shooting another video of my my prep work for the trip for the Sitka hunt, and then we'll see what we can put together. So really want to thank you guys for following along with this trip. And again, I'm Aaron Ritter with Limitless Outdoors, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please follow my pages, like my pages, share my pages, and have a great big game season. I'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.